Hi, I'm Hannah.
Hi, I'm Madelyn Steckbeck.
Hi, I'm Shauna Welsh.
Hi, I'm Zoe Chamber.
Hi, I'm Alex Tall, and welcome to 5 Minutes. Today, we'll be discussing the contributing factors that led to Andrew Jackson being replaced on the $20 bill by a woman, Harriet Tubman. President Andrew Jackson has been the face on the $20 bill since 1928. Previously, Grover Cleveland was the face on the bill. Jackson is being replaced by Harriet Tubman, like I mentioned earlier. This is a huge victory for not only African American rights, but also women's rights. In the U.S., Harriet Tubman will be the first woman and African American to appear on American money. Here to discuss with me today about who and what was involved in this change, we have Hannah Michaelet. Hi Hannah, how are you today?
Great, how are you?
It's so good to have you here.
Thank you.
So, what can you tell me and our viewers about who and what was involved in this change on the $20 bill?
The main driving factor in the change was a grassroots organization called Women's on 20, or W20. Since this was a grassroots organization that had no legal authority to do anything themselves, they had to convince the government to take action. Other factors in the change were President Obama and the Treasury Department, as they're the ones who make the ultimate decision and who have the power to change the face on the money and actually facilitate the change. The final factors in the change were the people in the public domain who voted on which woman to put on the $20 bill.
That is so interesting, Hannah. Thank you so much. I'm so glad to have someone who got involved with the W20 and really made a difference for not only America, but also African Americans. Now that we know about who and what was involved in this change, I think it's very important to know about the strategies that were used to bring about this change. Here to discuss with us the strategies, we have Madelyn Steckbeck.
Hi, Alex. Thanks for having me.
How are you? It's so good to see you.
I'm great, thanks.
All right. So tonight, you're here to talk to us about the strategies that were used to bring about this change in the $20 bill. What can you tell me and the viewers about this?
Well, that change was brought about mainly by W20. They created a 2-round online election where people could vote on 3 out of 15 possible women to be on the $20 bill.
Interesting.
Yeah. The next round was narrowed down to just 3 women, and the public voted on those 3. Harriet Tubman emerged as the winner in the vote, which about 600,000 people voted in. During and after the vote, W20 lobbied and drummed up support in the media and received endorsements from people around the globe as well. After this, W20 presented a petition to Obama and the Treasury Department for them to change the $20 bill. Initially, the Treasury Department resisted putting Tubman on the $20 bill and announced they would put her on the $10 bill. W20 considered this a slight defeat, as the $10 is supposed to be out of circulation in 2020. However, with a surge in popularity for Alexander Hamilton, they decided to put Tubman on the $20 bill. The Treasury was eventually swayed this way because more information was coming out about Andrew Jackson and showed he wasn't as of a savory character as he was portrayed to be. Jackson was despised by many because he was a slave owner and committed atrocities against them and the Cherokee Nation.
That's very interesting, Mrs. Steckbeck. I love that you mentioned Alexander Hamilton, because in our last episode, we talked about all the whiskey tax and whiskey rebellion that happened in our country. Talk to you soon, Mrs. Steckbeck. So we're a few minutes in, and I think that it is about time to talk about the context that affected how this change happened, to talk about who promoted the change, who permitted the change, and what were the barriers to this change. So to talk to us about this tonight, we have Shauna. So what can you talk to us about in relation to the context that affected, that promoted, and permitted, and the barriers of all this change? What can you tell us?
Okay, so there were a few contexts that affected and influenced this change. To begin, the 100th anniversary of women's suffrage is coming in 2020, so women's movements in the country were gaining more attention, and more people were becoming aware of women's movements throughout the country's history. The awareness of women's movements promoted change and permitted the change because women's rights are a huge topic in modern day. The barriers to change were supporters of Andrew Jackson, but amid all the historical information of him, they had a hard fight. The context here were social because the public voted on the person to replace Jackson, and the organization responsible for bringing the change was a nonprofit grassroots movement. One barrier at first was that the Treasury did not want to replace Andrew Jackson on the $20. They initially wanted to replace Hamilton, but they decided not to because of his recent rise in popularity. So again, this is a social context that caused the Treasury Department to change their minds.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Welsh. We'll see you soon.
Thank you.
So we have a couple questions and a couple minutes left. For one of our final questions, we'll be assessing the elements of change. Of all the elements that we've identified above, we'll be talking about the change of the $20 bill, the change of it being a woman, and the change of it being an African American. To discuss with us tonight, we have Zoe Chambers. How are you?
Good.
It's really good to see you again. All right, so what can you say about the assessing the elements of change of this $20 bill?
Well, the main elements were the new information that has been discovered about Jackson and how he lived along with the prominence and rise in women's rights and minority rights in recent years. All of these elements acted together to influence and bring about the change that we are seeing now. So that's
Very
pretty
interesting.
cool.
I think it's very vital that people hear this. So thank you. And we hope to see you again. And for a special finals week 5 minutes, we are taking it to the streets, seeing what TCU students have to say about the change on the $20 bill. Now we're on the lookout for a new student to give us her or his perspective on the face of the $20 bill changing. Hi, would you mind answering a question?
No, not at all.
What's your name?
Ellie Moyer.
Hi, Ellie. So today we're here to talk about how you feel about the face changing on the $20 bill from Jackson to Harriet Tubman.
Well, I think that it's a really good representation of in our culture of African Americans and women's rights.
Wow, thank you so much for that insight. Do you have anything else to add?
Go Frogs.
All right, thank you, Ellie. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. I'm Alex Tall, and this has been 5 Minutes.